Hi there. Grab a cuppa, take a seat, come and meet your health coach. Brought to you by vitalhealthcoaches.com. Today I'm really excited to meet Alisa Connan, who is a certified health coach, and to chat to Alisa a bit about her health coaching practice. Hi Alisa, could you just tell us a bit about yourself?
Thanks for having me. I'm Alisa. I am a women's health practitioner. I live in London with my two children. I work with women with their hormone health.
Great. Okay, so could you share just a little bit more about your journey into becoming a health coach?
Yeah, I think most people actually that I've met that are in the holistic space usually have their own health story. And mine was not different from that. I started on a really allopathic route, actually. So I grew up in the 80s where everything was fat-free and you could have as much sugar as you wanted. And I went to the doctor every time I had something that was going awry with my body. And it wasn't until kind of my 20s that I started to get some significant symptoms that I wasn't getting resolved from going to my allopathic doctor. I guess it wasn't really until my IVF journey that I started taking a bit of a deep dive into the why behind my symptoms. And now I help women figure out their why, understand their health story. And really, I think that for me, my experience of that was feeling a little bit more empowered in my situation. So I know having knowledge really gave me a sense of control in what felt like really uncertain times. Since then, really, since the IVF journey, I've it's been a kind of a real deep dive into not only how my own body works, but then training as a health coach with CNM was really kind of the start of a lifelong journey really of more learning, and I've been able to kind of follow my passion and my interest in hormones. And so I help a lot of people on their perimenopause journey, but also postnatally, and it's just so beautiful to be able to give that knowledge and share that knowledge with people who otherwise might feel a little bit helpless in their situation. They've been told that there's nothing that they can do. They get, similar titles that I got, which, IBS, PCOS, that type of thing, which are kind of umbrella titles for a cluster of symptoms. But those symptoms are unique to every single body.
Mm.
And what's really interesting is when you kind of, take back and understand why your body might be showing you those symptoms, that you can kind of address the root cause and your body can kind of click into more of a healing mode. Um, and seeing that in practice, both for myself and my clients, is the reason I do it.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because hormones are such a massive area and we're all gaining much more of an understanding of perimenopause and menopause. So I'd love to hear a bit more about the benefit of hormones being regulated and in balance. So kind of what does that mean and what are the benefits of that?
Yeah, I think this is such a key question, actually. And before I answer it, I want to just address how much overwhelm there is coming into clinic. So many of my clients come in and they've, I don't know, heard about fasting or something. And so they've really gone down that route and think that that's the best thing for them. And then they see something that is completely contradictive of the first thing that they saw. And so I think a lot of people come to me in a state of overwhelm and just not sure what to do. And so one of the really lovely things about doing one-to-one work is that we can hone in on what is right for that individual. And it's so nuanced what's right for an individual. And then within that process, you can really become an expert in your own story, your own journey. And then you don't need me anymore. I mean, but to get back to your question about why it's important, hormones, we have hormone receptors from top to toe. So that's why there's so many symptoms that can crop up in perimenopause, is because it can affect us in so many different ways, from our brain to our gut to how we regulate our temperature. There's so many different ways that our body can show us that we might be out of balance. When you're out of balance and then you get back into balance, it's profound. It can change how you sleep. It can change how your hunger, your cravings, where your weight is just distributed. And I know that that is a really big concern for a lot of women, especially if their body composition starts changing, but they haven't changed anything in their behavior. That's really unsettling, and that can feel really uh, people can get into a bit of a panic and feel out of control. And so to be able to have the knowledge, to be able to understand what's happening, why it's happening, and how to readdress that balance in the body, and that is different for every single person, that's really powerful.
So, what are some of the practical things that we can do to help bring our body back into balance, bring those hormones back into balance?
Our bodies always want to be in balance. That's what they're made to do. There's a center in the brain that is like constantly monitoring what your blood sugar is like, what your temperature is like. We are always wanting to be, and the technical term is in homeostasis. So actually getting back into balance is working with the body and not against. And so once you understand what might be tipping you out of balance as an individual, you're going to feel that difference really, really quickly. And one example of that would be blood sugar regulation. I think a lot of people don't understand the differences that you can feel if you're imbalanced just with your blood sugar. And it dramatically affects your hormones, actually. And it's something that you can do starting today and feel the difference tomorrow. So it's something that I talk about a lot. I love talking about it, but it's a really lovely tool that everyone could benefit from using a couple of little hacks. And it doesn't mean that you have to completely change your diet, completely change what you're eating. It might just be the sequencing that you're eating, the times that you're eating, being aware of how your body processes caffeine and when to introduce that into your day, things like that.
Yeah, yeah, great. I really like what you say about all the different symptoms that can present from all different parts of the body. Um, and it's really interesting how even just taking one small step, you say, can start to have an impact on the homeostasis, on the balance within the body. Have you got any examples of like someone who's come to you with these hormonal challenges and perhaps one change they've made, perhaps blood sugar balancing, like your example, and what changes they saw?
Absolutely. Multiple. But the first one that comes to mind is kind of a midlife woman who came to me, two small children, full-time job, like doing it all, looking after her partner, looking after her kids, trying to do the school run and then get to the office meetings. And she was kind of, running on fumes a little bit, getting to the office, having a croissant and a coffee and trying to get on with her day. And in this continual cycle of spiking her blood sugar, crashing, spiking, crashing, spiking, crashing, and then wondering why she's feeling anxious, why is she putting on weight, why can't she sleep? Those were kind of some of the main goals that she came to me with. And it's kind of once we made a couple of tweaks, like seriously, it was a savory breakfast was the first. So we changed her from being more starchy to more proteiny, not completely excluding anything, and just adding in some extra nutrients as well into her day and understanding what those nutrients were doing for her body. We worked together after 6 weeks, she came back to me and she said, Alisa, I can't believe that. I walked into the boardroom. The whole table was full of croissant and I didn't want one of them. I had zero urge for any of that because I know how it makes me feel. And when you get to that point, it's just such a pivotal moment that you're like, I know that she might go back into the blood sugar, rise and crash again in her life. But I know now, and her brain knows, she's laid down new pathways so that she knows that she can feel this good.
And how did she feel different? What did she say?
She just said to me, I can't believe how much energy I have. And that then fed into her sleeping better, being able to build in more habits. Then she was able to have the capacity to build in a grounding habit before her day started. Then she was able to really sit with her kids' feelings when they were having meltdowns rather than being activated herself in her central nervous system. It can have a really profound effect, one change, and then it's kind of a bit of a ripple effect.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. Yeah, really encouraging and really inspiring. It seems like actually the work that you do with people touches on different types of symptoms, but also different types of stress. So, are there different ways that using these different tools that you help clients with affect different types of stress?
Absolutely. I think it's also understanding the different types of stress. So, a lot of people, when they think about stress, they're thinking about, oh, I've just had an argument with my partner, or I've just got into a road rage incident with someone, or my kid's having a meltdown in a supermarket. Those are the types of stress that we understand. I think it goes a lot deeper than that in terms of emotional stress. The email that pings in, social media, what is triggering for us, all of that type of thing. And that kind of underlying stress can put us into a mode called fight or flight. A lot of people have heard of fight or flight or rest and digest. These are two parts of our autonomic nervous system, and our body generally wants to be in rest and digest. And that is when we can digest our food, we can think clearly, we can really be in rested state and restore on a cellular level as well as an energetic level. And when we're in fight or flight, it definitely has a purpose. The purpose is to run away from danger and to keep the body safe. So historically, in cave people times, that would have been literally running away for safety. So running away from an animal or needing to fight in that respect. And what happens is the blood goes to your muscles, your pupils dilate, you have increased blood flow, your capacity to move is increased dramatically. And anyone who has had a child, I don't know, riding their bike along the street and they fall into the road, that response, that is fight or flight. That you can literally become a super person, super mama, and scoop them up like you would have never been able to before. You can hear more, you can see more, your blood has gone to your muscles, you can move quicker. When we're in that state chronically, that's when things can start to get out of balance, because our hormones aren't needed for survival, which means that they're one of the first things to be suppressed when we're in fight or flight. And our digestion is compromised also. So it means that you're not getting as many nutrients as you could do from the food that you're eating. And sleep is obviously compromised as well. So that is emotional stress. That's how it can affect your central nervous system. There's a couple of other different types of stress, and I don't know how much we want to go into it, because I'm really also conscious of not doing the overwhelm thing. But there are different types of stresses, and some of them are physical and some of them are environmental. Environmental include toxins in our environment, and that's something that I would work on one-to-one with clients always. But I need to do it in a way when they can hear it, when it's not going to cause more overwhelm, and when they have the capacity to take it on. It's not usually one of the first things that we would dive into, but it can have a really big difference on hormonal health as well. So that's, taking plastics out of your environment where you can, being aware of what's going in and on your skin, that type of thing.
It's really nice hearing you talk about overwhelm, because I'm sure a lot of people identify with that feeling of trying to improve your health, going online, and yeah, you get completely overwhelmed just on one social media platform, let alone multiple. And there's so much information. And like you said earlier, conflicting, contradictory information. It is really overwhelming. So yeah, it's really nice to hear that sense that you go gradually with your clients and are careful not to overwhelm them, because that's so often what happens when we try and do it on our own without some help and support. It would be really great if you could explain a bit more to us about what is a health coach and what your approach to health coaching is, how it all works.
Oh, what is a health coach? Depends on which day it is, really. I mean, the term health coach for me means somebody who looks at the person sitting in front of them 360. So it's kind of like from top to toe, how does this person work? What makes them tick? How do they make their decisions? What's blocking them? And why is their body not in balance at the moment? And that question is the answer to that question is going to be different for every single person. So it's a really tailored deep dive into who is this person and how do they work? And how can we get them to be their optimal self, both energetically, physically, emotionally. Like it's the whole package. It's not just one thing. And the difference between, you know, if you were going to go down an allopathic route is that you would go to your GP and you would say, I don't know, my shoulder hurts. And then they would refer you to a shoulder specialist. And that person would look just at your shoulder. And this approach is understanding that every system is connected. And we are not only connected by our bodily systems, but also energetically and emotionally connected. And all of that feeds into one's health.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Can you explain if someone were to come and see you, someone who is, I'm guessing, a midlife woman with issues around, or she thinks issues around hormones, but it could be all sorts of things going on. What can she expect from sessions with you? How does that all work?
Well, the way that it starts is for us to is for us to do an intake session, which involves really doing a bit of a deep dive into history. So from birth to now, how did we get here? What's going on in the past? What has happened in the past, and how does that influence how your body's working right now? And then to try and co-create a plan together, which kind of keeps their goals in mind. In my mind, that I know that they want to lose weight, for example, we're not going to start talking about like having a strict diet. We're going to be looking at stress. We're going to be looking at toxins. We're going to be looking at how their liver is functioning. And with the pieces of information that they can handle at that moment, I will share those with them so that we don't go into overwhelm, but they can have an action plan that feels really manageable and that they can take on not only for the next 2 weeks before we start again, but to really embed those new habits, whatever they might be that is right for them at that exact moment, so that that is going to continue on well after our time together. And then that just continues. So we would then speak every 2 weeks. We would come up with new goals. Sometimes the goals stay exactly the same because they need some more time to bed them in. And so it really is tailored. The time frame is tailored to their capacity. But people always feel change. Like no matter how small the changes that they make, I think it's also having the accountability and also that support and space, because a lot of people who come to me, they're carers. They look after children, they look after partners, sometimes they're looking after parents, friends, etc. It's allowing that space to just sit and just really kind of filter through what do I need right now? What is going to be helpful? I think people don't give their own intuition and their own inner wisdom enough time and space sometimes. And those health coaching sessions allow space for that.
That's really lovely. So if someone comes to you first session feeling overwhelmed, don't know where to start, so many things going on, medical history as long as your arm, how do they tend to leave that first session feeling or looking, or what do they say?
Clear, I would say. Clear on what the goal is and what they need to do.
Nice.
And it's usually small.
Yeah, great. Okay. So, final thing I wanted to ask you, you've mentioned before when we've talked about having a mission of creating a village of support around midlife women. As a midlife woman myself, that sounds lovely. How can I join? What is that idea?
Come join the club. It's really fun.
Great. And yeah, let's be positive about it rather than looking at it as like the next impending disaster.
No, I know. I think now more than ever we need a village. And I think especially if you're parenting, if you're carrying multiple different directions in your life, you need support yourself, and you need different places that you can go for that support at different times. So I might be the start or the middle of somebody's journey, but I'm never going to be the end. I'm going to be introducing them to the right person for them that they need at that moment. And then that journey continues because that person then might introduce them to somebody else. And then the end goal and kind of what I've been working on myself personally is having this kind of village of people around you that you can call on when you need different things. And these people, they're beautifully heart-centered, open people. They might be practitioners, or they might be other people that can support you in different ways, but they're going to be people that can hold space for you, and they're going to be people that can guide you or extend the your kind of healing journey in some way, shape, or form. And different people need different types of people in their lives at different times as well. So one of the, best bit about my job, one of the best bits, is meeting these beautiful practitioners and people and thinking about, oh, who would they be right for? And how are they actually going to be a part of my journey personally as well? So my list is ever growing, and it's such a treat to be able to introduce those people to people who then come to me for one-to-one support.
Sounds great. I know that you have a profile set up on vitalhealthcoaches.com and some packages of support on there. Do you want to just briefly run through what packages you've got, what you offer?
Yeah, absolutely. So I offer a free 15-minute clarity call or discovery call. And that's really right for anyone who is just a bit unsure about how a health coach might be able to help them and their journey. And it's a time where we can kind of figure out, like, are we a good match? And sometimes that is a yes, and sometimes it's a no, and that's absolutely fine either way. But it's got to work both ways. If somebody comes to me, I've got to be the right person for them in that moment. And that's kind of a time to figure that out. But if they have any questions about how health coaching might work, symptoms that they're struggling with, and how that might have come about, that's a time to talk about that. I also offer a power hour, which is somebody who wants to do a little toe dip into health coaching, but isn't ready to commit for the whole kind of 6 or 12 weeks, which is their usual amount of time that people would book in with me. So that would be an hour. We would do a full health history in that hour, and then the person would walk away similar to the first session of a 6-week package with an action plan and a health plan, really, to kind of for them to have a better understanding of why they might be feeling the way that they are, and a couple of small steps to start their journey to feeling back in balance. And then I also offer workshops for corporate and for health businesses. So where I kind of come in and I might talk about blood sugar balance or cortisol regulation, or if they're community is struggling with, the most recent one I did was on strength. I worked with a PT, and we were talking about how to build strength both physically and then also within the body as well, to be able to, like, the nutrients that you would need to build muscle and bone density and that type of thing.
Great. Okay, good. Well, I feel like I've learnt loads from our conversation today. It's been really helpful, really interesting. Thank you so much for sharing your insights with us. It's been really great to hear from you. And yeah, thanks for joining on the podcast.
And a pleasure. Thank you so much.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode. For more on how a health coach can support you in your health journey, please go to vitalhealthcoaches.com.